Alright, let's have a look here. Many of you have been pointing out that if I sit at just the right angle, there's actually a perfect Assassin's Creed symbol forming in my forehead. And this has led many people to believe that I'm in the Illuminati, which is obviously preposterous. It just means that I'm a paid shill working for Ubisoft. Content creator foreheads are just so underutilized for advertising space. Anyway, in this video I want to do a little bit of a 2018 retrospective, and I want to talk about what's going to be happening with my channel going into the new year. Now, that's not typically a very interesting topic, except for the fact that 2018 was like the strangest year I can ever remember experiencing since being born, especially in the world of video games. I want to start by saying that the strangest and most psychedelic experience I had in 2018 is I spent the entire year as a semi-successful YouTuber, which is so wild. I mean, you have this dream about wanting to make videos for years and years, and then now I have a channel, and every time I'm reminded of it, it just feels really weird and extremely fun. And I need to express my never-ending love and gratitude for those of you who keep on showing up and keep on showing support for me in my videos. I know all these YouTubers keep on gushing with the love and appreciation in the videos, and it can start to feel a little bit disingenuous, but you need to know that I am so very serious when I talk about how much I appreciate you. You really have helped improve my view of people in general a little bit, because when I made my first videos, I was expecting to be attacked more or less. I had a very dark view of discourse on the internet. People can hide behind anonymity and then say and do really cruel things to one another, but the response has been just the opposite. There's been so much love and appreciation shown, even in the videos where I express a lot of opinions, and this is something that I've learned this year. If you make a video that contains a lot of opinions, then you inflate the viewership, but you also inflate the negative feedback that you're going to get, because there's space for people to disagree. But even in those videos, you know, like when we make a tier list or whatever, the discussion is always so very interesting. You keep on teaching me things, and you manage to be very funny a lot of the time. Like, I laugh out loud when I read my YouTube comments, and I read pretty much all of them. I try to respond to as many as possible, but I'm going to try to get even better at that in the new year. But just long, well thought out arguments, really funny remarks. I really enjoy reading what you guys have to write so very much. And I say this many times, but I do believe it's true. I must have the coolest viewership of any channel on YouTube, and I go to some other channels and I never find an environment that I think is just so cool as my own. I really think I have the best viewership ever. So if you don't want to watch this whole video, I'm not going to keep on gushing about this. I'm going to talk about other things, but there's going to be more stuff in the new year. I'm going to try to upgrade my equipment, make new kinds of videos. There's going to be lots of stuff happening, so please do consider showing up in the new year as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the strange year we had in video gaming. The highlight for me was the AdFighter 5 incident, when we found out that there is going to be advertising on the actual character models in Street Fighter 5. Now, I don't play Street Fighter, but it's you know, a mainstay of the fighting game world, the sort of center franchise that a lot of other things tend to revolve around, and so I thought that was very weird. The world of video game development in general has been very strange over the last couple of years. It's become a topic for news, and there are all these huge sites that talk about which company is hiring, what kind of budget they have for which project, and it's I always found it very odd, and I didn't find it very interesting, but even I was sort of pulled in by the darkness of that this year. The inciting incident being the AdFighter 5 thing, but also the don't you guys have cell phone incident at BlizzCon. And I could talk about this because I've been obsessing about it and researching numbers and stuff over the last couple of weeks. I think we're going to leave it, but I do think it's very interesting. Something that you don't know about me probably is that I am actually a trained economist, which is very weird, but a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, TM, I graduated from one of the top business schools in Europe, and I was going to be a successful banker was the plan. And then, depending on who you ask, I either buckled under pressure and ran away to Asia, or the way I prefer to see it is that I was sort of scared away by the strangeness of that world, and I became a little bit more of a hippie and a loser, I guess, and I chose the life that I have right now. But These like quarterly earning reports and annual statements and press releases from CEOs, it's sort of the water that I used to swim in a little bit, and now that it's seeped into the world of video gaming in a new way, it's very strange to me. I feel like if we're just gonna talk a little bit about it, that the nexus of the whole thing is really EA, Electronic Arts, the company who really pioneered these in-game transactions that people seem to be reacting so negatively to. And I saw some numbers the other week where EA, basically half of their revenue right now, I think it's revenue, was made up of not of the sales of games, but actually in-game transactions, season passes, and microtransactions, and things like that. And when it makes up that large of a portion of the money earned by such a giant corporation, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens when that bubble starts to burst. And I think it's probably going to start to burst in 2019. Because you have this super negative reaction from the video gamer community globally, but you also have all these governments across the world right now legislating against in-game transactions because it has the texture of selling gambling to children. And so I think Belgium and a couple of other places have made it illegal for that kind of thing to exist, or they will implement some sort of legislation controlling or impacting that. So I think 2019 is going to be an extremely interesting year for video games, and right now it feels like the whole thing is just going to crash and burn in extremely interesting ways, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. It's very good for us as video game players who play exclusively fighting games that we tend not to be impacted, because the video games we play tend to be developed by these Asian studios that are at least a little bit divorced from that entire world. But I mean, I pay. How much money do you pay if you buy Tekken 7 new from a retailer? It's not that much if you consider the fact that you can then go on playing that game pretty much every day for years and years and years. There's like almost infinite value in purchasing Tekken 7, and then when you get a DLC or you get new stuff, Season 1 was iffy with the whole Tekken bowling thing, but I mean, paying a little bit more for new characters, new stages, and stuff showing up in the game, I think is for the most part extremely reasonable, and so we're, at least for the time being, kind of insulated in the world we're in. But who knows what's going to be happening with Namco and our favorite games going forward. It's going to be very interesting to see. But I will say that I think it's also strange and surprising, but really great that Tekken 7 has sort of grown to the point where it feels to me like it's starting to replace Street Fighter as the sort of mainstay daddy franchise of the fighting game world, which is what it used to be way back in the day. You know, Tekken has been relying on having this legendary legacy for a very long time, but now I think Tekken 7 is the big, juicy revenge game where it sort of reestablishes itself as the one fighting game franchise, which I obviously think it deserves, because I think it is the most enjoyable fighting game out there, and it's, you know, my favorite probably video game of all time. And I play it all the time, and I make videos about it, so it's very fun from that perspective. Another thing that happened in 2018 is that we saw the release of Soul Calibur 6. So we need to talk a little bit about this, because I've had a lot of comments asking when I'm going to be making more content about that game, and I'm sad to inform you that it's unlikely that I will be playing the game a whole lot going forward. And this is not because I don't think the game is good enough. I cannot overstate how much I enjoy Soul Calibur 6. I think it's extremely fun. I think it's so well made. Like, just thinking about it right now, my fingers start to itch. I want to do all those cool moves with and setups that I developed with Sangmina. I didn't even share the last batches of online games I had with you guys. I got to a pretty high rank. I got really pretty decent in a short amount of time at that game, and I loved it. It was so intuitive as opposed to Tekken, and it also has, in my opinion, the best presentation of any fighting game in the world. Soul Calibur looks better and sounds better than any other video game or any fighting game franchise, and it's just this explosion of color and joy whenever you turn it on. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was an amazing game. But the reason I'm not going to play it anymore is I took a Tekken hiatus. I played a lot of Soul Calibur, and then when I came back to Tekken, I realized that my Tekken had really suffered. I was pressing the guard button to block, which obviously doesn't work in Tekken. I couldn't move properly because in Soul Calibur you don't double tap to step, for example. You can, 8-way run instead. And so the games are similar enough, but still different enough that if you play a lot of Soul Calibur, I think it's going to make you worse at Tekken. So I felt that I was at a point where I had to choose whether or not I wanted to play Tekken and try and maintain a high level, you know, of quality in my Tekken play, or go really deep into Soul Calibur. And when I'm, as a player, presented by a choice between Tekken and something else, I'm always going to go with Tekken because, you know, that's what's closest to my heart. So that's the only reason I'm not playing a whole lot of Soul Calibur right now. Something that has to be said about Soul Calibur is that, you know, a lot of people were saying that if this game isn't very successful, it's going to be the final nail in the coffin for that franchise. And I don't know. I haven't looked at enough numbers if Soul Calibur 6 is considered a roaring success commercially, but my impression is that it isn't, and that the playership of that game has gone down quite a bit since the initial release. And I think that is so extremely sad if that's true, if it's true. Because I think that this game deserves to be as popular as Tekken. It's just amazingly well made and a lot of fun. And so if the only thing that the developers could do was make as good a game as possible, and they actually did that, they actually made an amazing game, and it still didn't succeed, then it feels like the franchise is kind of doomed. And it probably has to do with factors out of their control, like what is happening in, you know, just the marketplace of fighting games right now. This is not something that I have huge insight in, but my impression is that Soul Calibur 6 might be the last game in this franchise that we ever see. And if that's true, they definitely went out with a bang, in my opinion. I think the game is amazing. If I had to give some complaints, I think there might actually be some pretty serious balance issues in the roster. I said that I wasn't going to talk about that because I'm not enough of an expert on the game, but I think I got good enough that I started to see a little bit more of it by the end of my experience with the game, especially characters like Nightmare, who I felt was extremely intuitive and easy to use while simultaneously just being, I think, completely overblown in the amount of damage that he was able to deal with very little effort. It's sort of like the issues that some people have with Dragunov in Tekken, where he's extremely powerful and extremely easy to apply that power with, but crank it up even more and make it a lot worse, in my opinion. You have Nightmare and Soul Calibur 6, and there are a lot of other characters and things that feel cheap in that game, but it's different from Tekken in the way where all the characters are basically extremely cheap, and you have to rely on that cheapness to get ahead. Otherwise you're going to get steamrolled, because it's that kind of an environment when you play that online. So very sad, but I love the game. I might play it more going forward. I think that the DLC character 2B was a complete dud for me personally, so don't be expecting a whole lot of Soul Calibur content necessarily. Tekken is going to be the main game again going forward. Alright, is that going to wrap it up for me? Well, I need to tell you that the main thing I'm looking to do in terms of the channel going forward is that I want to move over really to PC. I'm doing a lot of my gameplay on PlayStation, of course, up until this point, but for me to be able to get, you know, good face cam and higher quality videos and all that stuff, I need to have a stronger computer than what I own right now, and I've sort of been saving up for that purchase. And when I make that, I'm also gonna, you know, kit it out with the camera and the microphone and everything to make it a lot better. So it's gonna have more of a professional feel to it, I hope eventually, but I can't give you a time frame for that when that's going to be happening. A lot of you are so kind, you say, you know, put up a Patreon page or a PayPal account or something, because we want you to do those things and we'll pay for you to do it. But I feel very strange about taking your money, and I've also seen so many examples of when that goes wrong that I'm just very careful about it. I'm obviously super happy that people are kind enough to even suggest it, but there are so many examples of people making all these promises to their viewership and putting up pages, and then the popularity explodes, strange things happen, and they end up, you know, running in the streets naked and screaming about I don't know what and getting arrested or whatever. I mean, it's it tends to destroy lives when you take internet popularity lightly. I'm obviously not that popular that I have to worry about those things, but I'm not ready to like set up, you know, all these things where I take money directly from you guys. It's also the reason I don't stream yet. But maybe if I feel that it can be done in a neat and sort of way that makes sense going forward, then maybe I will try streaming in the new year. We'll have to see what happens. But that's just a short update video of what's going on in my head right now. Thank you so much for watching the videos. And to let you know what I'm working on right now, I'm making the super long, super in-depth Katarina tutorial right now. The script is done, the notes are written, I just need to record it, which can take a lot of time, so we're going to have to see what happens. It's obviously a very simple character, so maybe not as much time as some of the other guides that I've made, but we'll have to wait and see. But there's a lot of stuff on the way, and I hope you look forward to it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys again very soon. Happy New Year, and I hope if you had a strange 2018 like I did, that 2019 is, if it's going to maintain this level of strangeness, that it's at least interesting and fun for you. If you keep on coming here, then we're going to try and have as much fun as possible together. That's my goal. Thank you so very much. I'll see you guys again in 2019. Bye bye for now.